The entire village stopped breathing. Time seemed to freeze. 4 black SUVs, the kind you only see in movies or presidential convoys, rolled slowly down the dusty highway and came to a stop. Right there, at the roadside orange selling spot where nobody important had ever stopped before. Car doors opened in perfect synchronization. Men in expensive black suits and dark sunglasses stepped out. The kind of men who protect billionaires. The kind of men who don't smile. The kind of men whose presence alone commands respect and fear. Villagers started gathering, rushing from their compounds, abandoning their market stalls, pointing, whispering, taking out their phones to record. Because in this small stretch of highway between Lagos and Ibadan, nothing like this had ever happened. Nothing even close. But to understand this moment, to understand why these SUVs stopped here, why these powerful men were looking for one specific person, we need to go back. 3 days. 3 days that would change everything. 3 days that started with an act so simple, so small that nobody watching would have believed it could lead to this. So let me take you back. Back to when Ngozi was just another struggling street hawker. Back to when her only dream was surviving one more day. Back to the moment that would test her character in a way she never expected. Are you ready? Then let's begin. And I promise you, by the end of this story, you'll understand why kindness is never wasted, why what you give always comes back, and why the universe is always watching. 3 days earlier, the sun was already brutal at 10 in the morning, the kind of Nigerian heat that makes your skin feel like it's cooking, that makes the air shimmer above the asphalt, that drives most people indoors, but forces the desperate to stay outside. Ngozi sat under her small umbrella, the fabric so faded you couldn't tell what color it used to be. In front of her, a wooden crate held her oranges, 23 of them. She'd counted that morning. 23 oranges between her and complete failure, between her and giving up, between the nightmare that kept her awake every night. She was 22 years old but looked older. Poverty does that. Worry does that. Responsibility does that. Her wrapper was clean but worn. The yellow and brown pattern faded from too many washings. Her head wrap matched, tied with the practiced skill her mother had taught her. On her face, determination mixed with exhaustion. In her eyes, hope fought daily with despair. Cars passed, hundreds of them. Big ones, small ones, Okadas weaving through traffic, Danfos packed with passengers. But nobody stopped. Nobody ever stopped for Ngozi. They stopped for the woman 50 meters down who sold cold drinks. They stopped for the man with roasted corn. But oranges? In this heat? Nobody wanted oranges. Ngozi, a voice called from across the road. She looked up. It was Mama Tunde, one of the market women from the village, walking with 3 other women, all of them staring at her, all of them whispering, then laughing. Ngozi knew what they were saying. She'd heard it before, heard it 1,000 times. That girl is too soft, too kind. She'll never make it in this life. You can't feed kindness. You can't pay rent with a good heart. She needs to be harder, tougher, more like us. The women passed, their laughter fading into the traffic noise. Ngozi didn't respond, didn't defend herself. What was the point? They wouldn't understand. They couldn't understand. Because they didn't know what it was like in her house. They didn't know what she was fighting for. They didn't know about Mama. If you've ever been judged for being too kind, drop a broken heart in the comments below. Let me know you understand what Ngozi is feeling right now. Every evening, when the sun finally released its grip on the world, Ngozi packed up her oranges and walked home. Home was a single room in the old part of the village, the part where nobody wanted to live anymore, where the roofs leaked when it rained, where the walls had cracks you could see through, where dreams went to die quietly. But it was home, and inside that room, on a thin mat on the floor, lay the reason Ngozi kept fighting. Mama, her mother, the woman who had raised her alone after Papa died, the woman who had worked herself to exhaustion so Ngozi could finish secondary school. The woman who used to be so strong, so full of life, so full of plans and hope. Now she could barely sit up. The sickness had come slowly. First just tiredness, then the coughing, then the weight loss, then the pain. Ngozi took her to the government hospital, free health care, they said. But the doctors took one look, did some tests, and said the words that shattered everything. She needs specialist treatment, private hospital, maybe surgery, tests we can't do here. And when Ngozi asked how much, the number they gave might as well have been 1,000,000 naira, might as well have been impossible. Ngozi, my daughter. Ngozi's voice was weak, barely above a whisper. You came back. Did you sell today? Ngozi forced a smile, lied with her eyes. Yes, Mama, I sold. She hadn't. She'd sold nothing. Again. But Mama didn't need to know that, didn't need more worry added to the sickness eating her from inside. You're a good girl, Mama said, her hand reaching out, trembling. Too good for this wicked world. Promise me something. Anything, Mama. Promise me don't let this world make you hard. Don't let poverty steal your kindness. I'd rather you stay poor and good than become rich and wicked. Promise me. Tears burned Ngozi's eyes. I promise. That night, Ngozi lay awake on her own mat, listening to her mother's labored breathing, calculating in her head. 23 oranges. If she sold them all tomorrow, if she sold them all the next day, if she sold them all every day for a month, it still wouldn't be enough, not even close. The mathematics of poverty are cruel like that. They never add up. They always leave you short. But she couldn't give up, wouldn't give up, because giving up meant watching Mama die, and that wasn't an option. So she'd keep trying, keep hoping, keep being the kind, soft, too-good girl that the village mocked, because Mama asked her to, because it was who she was, and because, deep down, she still believed that good things happened to good people, that kindness mattered, that the universe kept score. She just didn't know that the universe was about to test that belief in the most unexpected way. The next morning came too early. It always did. Ngozi woke before the sun, said her prayers, checked on Mama, and loaded her basket. 23 oranges, the same 23 from yesterday. None sold, none eaten, because if she ate one, that was one less to sell, and she couldn't afford to lose even one sale. The walk from her room to the highway took 30 minutes, through the village, past the houses of the women who mocked her, past the market that was just beginning to wake up, past the church, past the school where she used to dream of becoming a teacher, past all the reminders of the life she could have had if things had been different. If Papa hadn't died, if Mama hadn't gotten sick, if poverty hadn't trapped her in this endless cycle of barely surviving. She reached her spot just as the sun broke the horizon, golden light flooding the world. For a moment, just a moment, everything looked beautiful. The highway, the trees, even her faded umbrella. For a moment, she let herself imagine a different life. A life where she had money from Mama's treatment. A life where she could go to university. A life where she didn't have to count oranges and pray for miracles. Then a truck roared past, covering her in dust, and the moment was gone. Reality returned. She had oranges to sell, a mother to save, and no time for dreams. The sun climbed higher. The heat intensified. Cars passed, hundreds of them. Ngozi called out, "Fresh oranges! Sweet oranges! Best price!" Her voice getting weaker with each hour, her hope fading with each car that didn't stop. Around 11, a car did slow down. Her heart jumped. She stood up, smiled her best smile. "Good morning, sir. Fresh oranges, very sweet." The man in the car looked at her oranges, then drove away without a word. She sat back down. 12 noon, the worst time. Too hot for anyone to stop. Too hot for anyone to want to eat. Too hot for anything except suffering. Her stomach growled. She'd skipped breakfast, saved the small portion of gari for Mama. Lunch would be the same. Dinner, too, probably, unless she sold something. Anything. Ngozi, still here? It was Mama Tunde again, this time alone, walking back from wherever she'd been. Good afternoon, Mama Tunde, Ngozi said respectfully. The older woman stopped, hands on her hips. How many you sell today? Ngozi looked down. Not yet, Ma, but afternoon will be better. Afternoon in this heat? Hey, this girl, you need sense. You need sharpness. You know what your problem is. Ngozi stayed quiet. She knew the speech was coming whether she wanted it or not. Your problem is you're too good, too honest. Last week I saw you give free orange to that beggar man. Free! Who does that? You think oranges grow on trees? Ngozi wanted to say, yes, Mama, oranges literally grow on trees, but she bit her tongue. You need to be smart, Mama Tunde continued. Mix small rotten ones with the good ones. Inflate your price. Make profit. This life is not for soft people like you. She walked away, shaking her head. Too soft. That girl will die poor. Ngozi waited until she was gone, then whispered to herself, maybe Mama Tunde is right. Maybe I am too soft. Maybe kindness is a luxury I can't afford. But even as she said it, she knew she couldn't change, knew she wouldn't change, because changing meant disappointing Mama, meant breaking her promise, meant becoming someone she didn't want to be. So she'd stay soft, stay kind, stay poor probably, but at least she'd stay herself. Which country are you watching from? Drop your flag. Let me know where you are. I love seeing how far these stories travel. By 3 in the afternoon, Ngozi had counted her oranges 3 times. Still 23. Not 22, not 21, 23. The number that mocked her. The number that meant she'd sat here all day for nothing. Meant she'd go home empty-handed again. Meant she'd lie to Mama again. Meant she was one day closer to losing everything. She thought about giving up, going home early. What was the point of sitting here in the heat if nobody was buying? But then she thought about Mama lying on that mat, waiting, hoping, believing her daughter would find a way. And she couldn't go home empty-handed, couldn't face those hopeful eyes with nothing but failure. So she stayed, even when her back ached from sitting, even when her throat was dry from calling out to cars that didn't stop, even when every part of her wanted to cry. She stayed, because that's what you do when someone you love is counting on you. You stay, you fight, you hope, even when hope seems foolish. The sun was starting to descend when something changed. The traffic thinned out. The afternoon rush hadn't started yet. The highway was almost quiet. That's when she saw him, a man, walking along the highway in this heat. Who walks on the highway? Everyone has transport. Okada at least. Keikei if you have small money. But this man was walking, and as he got closer, she could see why. His clothes were dusty, his shoes worn, his face tired. He looked like he'd been walking for hours, maybe days. He looked like someone who had no transport, no money for anything. He looked, in other words, like her, like poverty in human form, like struggle made flesh. And her heart, that too soft heart that everyone mocked, that too kind heart that everyone said would be her downfall, that heart recognized a fellow sufferer, recognized someone who understood, recognized someone who needed help even more than she did. The man was getting closer. She could see his lips cracked, see the way he squinted against the sun, see the exhaustion in every step. And she made a decision that would change everything, a decision that Mama Tunde and all the other hard, practical, sensible women would call foolish, a decision that defied the mathematics of poverty. She decided to help.
The man reached her spot and stopped. Up close, she could see more details. He wasn't old, maybe 45. His face was kind, despite the exhaustion. His eyes were intelligent, but his clothes told a story of hardship. The dust wasn't just from today's walk. It was layered. Days of traveling, days of struggle. "Excuse me, sister." His voice was hoarse, dry, the voice of someone who hadn't had water in hours. "Do you have water? Anything to drink?" Ngozi looked at him, looked at her oranges, did the mathematics. She had no sales today, no sales yesterday. Tomorrow was uncertain. Mama needed medicine. She needed to eat. Everything was already desperate. Giving something away would make it worse, would push her closer to the edge. The sensible thing, the smart thing, the thing Mama Tunde would do, was to say, "Yes, but you must pay." The sensible thing was to protect herself first. But Ngozi looked into the man's eyes and saw genuine need, saw someone suffering, saw someone who might not make it if nobody helped. And sensible flew out the window. "Wait here, sir," she said. She had a small bottle of water. She'd been rationing it all day. She gave it to him, all of it. He drank like a man dying in the desert, finished it in seconds. "Thank you, sister. God bless you. Do you also have anything to eat? I haven't eaten since yesterday." Yesterday. The word hit her. This man was hungrier than she was, more desperate than she was, worse off than she was, and suddenly her 23 unsold oranges seemed like wealth. She picked up the biggest orange she had, the one she'd been saving, the one that she thought she could sell for the highest price, the one that might have been the difference between something and nothing today. She handed it to him. "Here, sir, please eat." But as her hand extended with the orange, another voice screamed in her head, the voice of survival, the voice of self-preservation, the voice that sounded suspiciously like Mama Tunde. "Are you crazy? That's your only meal today. You haven't eaten. Mama is sick. You have no money, and you're giving away the only thing you have to sell to a complete stranger? What if he's a scammer? What if he's testing you? What if he has money hidden and just wants free things? What if you go home with nothing again, and Mama asks why, and you have to say you gave your oranges to a stranger? What will she think? What will the village think? They'll call you a fool. They'll laugh at you even more. Keep the orange. Tell him to pay. Protect yourself." For a moment, just a moment, her hand hesitated. The orange hung in the air between them. A moment of choice, a crossroads. Give or keep, help or protect, kindness or survival. And in that moment, she heard another voice, softer, gentler, her mother's voice from last night. "Don't let this world make you hard. Don't let poverty steal your kindness. I'd rather you stay poor and good than become rich and wicked." Mama's words, Mama's wisdom, Mama's prayer. And Ngozi made her choice. She pushed the orange forward. "Please, sir, take it. Eat." The man looked at the orange, looked at her faded wrapper, her worn umbrella, her simple setup. He could see she was poor, could see she was struggling, could see that giving him this orange cost her something. "Sister," he said slowly, "I have no money to pay you. I don't want to take your food if—" "It's okay, sir," Ngozi interrupted. "Just eat. You need it more than me." That was a lie. She needed it just as much, but in that moment it felt like the truth, because sometimes when you see someone suffering more than you, your own suffering feels smaller, your own hunger feels manageable, your own problems feel survivable. The man took the orange. His hands shook slightly. "God bless you, sister. You don't know what this means. You don't know how rare it is to find someone with a good heart in this world." He peeled the orange slowly, ate it like it was the most precious thing he'd ever tasted, and Ngozi watched him, feeling something strange, not regret, not anger at herself, not the foolishness Mama Tunde would say she should feel. She felt something else. Peace, like she'd done something right in a world full of wrong, like she'd chosen correctly at that crossroads, like maybe, just maybe, Mama was right about kindness mattering. The man finished the orange, every piece, every bit of white membrane. He even ate parts most people throw away.
Done.
That's how
He
hungry
looked at
he
her
was.
with eyes that seemed to see more than they should. Eyes that seemed to measure something deeper than her poverty. What's your name, sister? Ngozi, sir. Ngozi. It means blessing, doesn't it? Yes, sir. You are well named. Thank you for being a blessing to me today. I won't forget this. He walked away, disappeared into the traffic and the late afternoon sun, and Ngozi sat back down. 22 oranges left. 22, not 23. She'd given one away. Done the thing Mama Tunde said would doom her. Done the thing every sensible person would call foolish. And somehow, she didn't regret it. Not yet, anyway. Would you have given that orange away? Be honest. Drop an orange if yes, an empty circle if no. No judgment. I just want to see who thinks like Ngozi. The rest of the afternoon brought nothing. No sales. Not even close. By 6, when the sun was setting and the highway traffic was thinning, Ngozi packed up. 22 oranges going home. 22 oranges that should have been 23 if she'd just been sensible. If she'd just protected herself first. The walk home felt longer today, heavier. Each step reminded her that she'd failed, again. That she'd given away something she couldn't afford to give. That kindness might feel good, but it doesn't pay for medicine, doesn't put food on the table, doesn't save dying mothers. As she walked past Mama Tunde's house, she saw the woman sitting outside with her friends, counting money. Money from actual sales, money from being hard and smart and practical. Mama Tunde looked up, saw Ngozi and laughed. "Hey, the kind girl is back. How market today?" Ngozi kept walking. "Did you sell anything, or did you give everything away for free?" More laughter. Ngozi kept walking. "That girl will never learn. Too soft, too foolish." Ngozi kept walking, but their words followed her, burrowed into her mind, mixed with her own doubts, made her question everything, made her wonder if maybe, just maybe, they were right. Mama was awake when Ngozi got home, sitting up, which was rare these days. A good sign, or maybe just a momentary strength before more weakness. "You're back, my daughter. How was today?" Ngozi put down her basket, forced her smile, constructed her lie. "Better, Mama. I sold some, not many, but some." Another lie. But what was she supposed to say? "I gave away our only sale to a stranger because you taught me to be kind?" "I'm glad," Mama said, lying back down, satisfied. "I knew today would be better. Tomorrow will be even better. God is faithful, Ngozi. Keep your heart good. Keep your kindness. The blessing will come." Blessing. The stranger had called her that. A blessing. But she didn't feel blessed. She felt tired, hungry, worried, poor, very, very poor. That night, she cooked the small portion of rice she'd been saving, gave most to Mama, ate barely enough for herself, lay on her mat, stared at the ceiling, and for the first time since Mama got sick, she let herself cry. Really cry. Not the quiet tears she cried when Mama wasn't looking, but deep, body-shaking sobs, because she was so tired, so scared, so close to giving up. And because kindness, for all its beauty, for all its rightness, doesn't cure cancer, doesn't pay bills, doesn't change the fact that tomorrow she'd wake up and do it all again. Sit in the heat, watch cars pass, sell nothing, stay poor, and maybe, probably, watch Mama die because she wasn't smart enough, wasn't hard enough, wasn't practical enough to do what needed to be done. "Maybe Mama Tunde is right," she whispered to the darkness. "Maybe I'm too soft for this world." She fell asleep with that thought, with doubt poisoning her dreams, with regret creeping in to replace the peace she'd felt earlier. She didn't know that tomorrow would bring something unexpected. She didn't know that her kindness had been witnessed. She didn't know that the stranger she'd helped was not what he seemed. She didn't know that 3 days from now, 4 black SUVs would arrive at her spot, that men in expensive suits would ask for her by name, that her life was about to change in ways she couldn't imagine, all because of one orange, one moment of choice, one act of kindness when common sense said to protect yourself. Tomorrow would be day 2, but tonight she slept, exhausted, discouraged, still kind despite everything, still soft despite the world's hardness, still herself despite pressure to change. And in the mysterious mathematics of the universe, in the invisible ledger that keeps score of such things, her name was being written, her kindness was being recorded, her moment was being prepared. But she didn't know that yet. Tonight she just slept, poor, hungry, alone with her sick mother and her unsold oranges and her too soft heart. And tomorrow, the test would continue, day 2. The sun rose like it always did, indifferent to human suffering. Ngozi awoke with the familiar weight of dread in her stomach. 22 oranges. Still 22. She checked 3 times last night, as if counting would magically make them multiply. It didn't. Mama was worse this morning. The coughing had kept Ngozi awake half the night. Each cough sounded wetter, deeper, more desperate. The kind of cough that says time is running out. The kind of cough that turns fear into panic. "Don't go today," Mama whispered weakly. "Stay with me." And oh, how Ngozi wanted to curl up beside her mother, hold her hand, pretend the world outside didn't exist, pretend oranges and money and medicine weren't real things that mattered. But pretending doesn't cure sickness. Staying home doesn't pay for treatment. So she kissed her mama's forehead, whispered a prayer she wasn't sure anyone heard, and left. The walk to the highway felt different today. Yesterday's peace about helping the stranger evaporated overnight, replaced by arithmetic's cold reality. 1 orange given away equals 1 less to sell, equals less money, equals Mama dying faster. The mathematics of poverty are unforgiving like that. They don't care about kindness. They don't reward good hearts. They just calculate loss. She reached her spot, set up her umbrella, arranged her 22 oranges, said another prayer, and waited. The morning traffic came. Cars rushed past, Okadas weaved through, buses honked, and nobody stopped. Nobody even slowed. By 10 a.m., her voice was already hoarse from calling out, "Fresh oranges! Sweet oranges!" The words felt hollow, empty, like shouting into a void that didn't care. That's when she saw Mama Tunde approaching again. The woman seemed to have a supernatural ability to appear at Ngozi's lowest moments, like a vulture that smells defeat. "Hey, Ngozi, you're here again, so dedicated." The woman's voice dripped with mockery disguised as encouragement. "Yes, Ma," Ngozi replied quietly. "Still 22 oranges? Ah, same oranges from yesterday." Mama Tunde picked one up, examined it like a judge evaluating evidence. "You know what your problem is? You wait for customers to come. Real sellers, we go to the customers. We move, we hustle. But you just sit here like a statue, like money will fall from heaven." She dropped the orange back. "And I heard something yesterday. Someone saw you give free orange to a beggar man. Free. Is that true?" Ngozi said nothing. Mama Tunde laughed. Not a kind laugh. A "I told you so" laugh. A "you're getting what you deserve" laugh. "It's true. Jesus, this girl wants to be poor forever. Listen, let me tell you something. I've been in this market 30 years. You know how many free things I've given? 0. You know why? Because nobody gave me anything free when I was struggling. Nobody. This life is survival of the smartest, not survival of the kindest. You better learn before it's too late." She walked away, shaking her head, and Ngozi sat there, each word landing like a stone, piling up, burying her. making her question everything Mama had taught her, making her wonder if maybe, just maybe, they were right. Have you ever been told you're too kind, too soft? Drop one chat and tell me about it. Sometimes we need to know we're not alone. Around 11:30, when the heat was becoming unbearable and Ngozi's hope was at its lowest, she saw him again, the stranger from yesterday, walking along the highway, same dusty clothes, same worn shoes, same tired walk. But something was different today. His face looked less exhausted. His step was slightly stronger, like yesterday's orange and water had given him just enough energy to keep going. He saw her, stopped. Recognition crossed his face. For a moment, Ngozi thought he'd wave and keep walking. Most people do that, acknowledge you, then move on. But he didn't. He walked over, stood in front of her orange display. "Sister Ngozi," he said. His voice was still hoarse but stronger than yesterday. "You remember my name?" she asked, surprised. "I remember names of people who helped me. There aren't many to remember."
"How are you
He
today,
smiled.
sir?"
A sad
"Better than
smile.
yesterday, thanks to you. That orange, that water, they saved my life. I mean it. I was close to collapsing. You don't know what you did." Ngozi felt warmth in her chest, the first good feeling since waking up. Maybe Mama was right. Maybe kindness did matter. Maybe... "But I still have no money," the stranger continued, and the warmth died. "I wanted to come back and thank you properly, to tell you face to face that what you did mattered, that it won't be forgotten." He started to walk away, and Ngozi felt something. Call it intuition, call it divine prompting, call it the voice of her too soft heart refusing to be practical. She felt it. "Sir, wait!" He turned back. She picked up another orange, the second best one she had, the one she'd been hoping to sell for at least 50 naira, and held it out. "Please, take this too." The stranger stared at the orange, stared at her, stared at the orange again. "Sister, I can't. You already gave me one yesterday. I can see you haven't sold any today. I can't take more from you. Please, sir, you said you haven't eaten since yesterday. That was yesterday's orange. Today you need to eat again. Please." "But I have a mother at home who teaches me that feeding the hungry is never wrong, that helping people is never a mistake. Please, take it, for her, so I can tell her I did what she taught me." The stranger's eyes glistened, actually glistened with moisture. He took the orange slowly, like it was made of gold. "You don't know me," he said quietly. "I'm a stranger. I could be anybody. I could be lying about having no money. I could be testing you. I could be a thief, a con man, anything. And you're still giving me food? My mother also taught me that when you see someone hungry, you don't investigate their story. You feed them. God will handle the rest." The stranger stood there for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He bowed, actually bowed, like she was royalty and he was a servant. "Ngozi Roji," he said formally, "you have shown me something I'd almost forgotten existed. Real kindness, pure kindness. Not kindness that expects something back. Not kindness that calculates the cost. Just kindness. Thank you." He walked away, and Ngozi watched him go, feeling that strange peace again, that sense that she'd done right even if it looked wrong, that sense that the universe was keeping score somewhere. 21 oranges now. 21. She'd given away 2 in 2 days. 2 oranges she desperately needed to sell. 2 sales lost. 2 steps closer to complete failure. But somehow, inexplicably, she didn't regret it. What Ngozi didn't see was the 3 women standing across the road, watching, witnessing everything. Mama Tunde and her 2 closest friends. They'd seen the whole interaction, seen Ngozi give away another orange, seen her choose charity over commerce, seen her stay soft in a hard world. "I can't believe what I just saw," Mama Tunde said to her friends, her voice loud enough for people nearby to hear. "That foolish girl just gave away another orange, another one, to the same beggar man. Eh, One friend shook her head. And she hasn't sold any, not one. We've been watching. I told her yesterday, Mama Tunde continued, her voice rising with righteous indignation. I told her she's too soft, too stupid. But did she listen? No. And now look, giving away what she should be selling. Her mother is dying, Abi. Very sick, needs hospital, needs money, serious money. And she's giving away oranges for free? Ah, that girl is cursed. She must be cursed. No normal person behaves like that. The three women laughed. That particular Nigerian laugh that's not really amusement. It's judgment. It's condemnation. It's we told you so wrapped in mockery. She'll learn. Life will teach her. When her mother dies and she has nothing, when she's old and poor and alone, she'll remember today. She'll remember that we tried to warn her, but by then it will be too late. They walked away, their laughter carrying across the highway, and some of it reached Ngozi's ears. She heard them, heard their judgment, heard their mockery, and for the first time, real doubt crept in. Not the manageable doubt from last night, real doubt, deep doubt, the kind that makes you question everything you believe. What if they were right? What if she was being foolish? What if kindness was just a pretty word for stupidity? What if she was killing Mama by being soft? The sun beat down, the oranges sat unsold, the doubt grew, and Ngozi began to break. By 3 p.m., something had shifted inside Ngozi. The peace was gone. The certainty was gone. What remained was fear, pure, undiluted fear. She'd done the mathematics, really done it this time. 21 oranges left. Even if she sold all of them tomorrow at full price, even if she had the best day ever, it would still be nowhere near enough for Mama's treatment, and she was running out of time. She could feel it, the way Mama's breathing sounded this morning, the way her skin looked, the way her eyes were starting to look distant, like she was already partially somewhere else. Time was running out, and she'd just given away 2 days of potential sales to a stranger who would disappear and forget her name. For what? For peace? Peace doesn't cure cancer. For righteousness? Righteousness doesn't pay hospital bills. For the belief that goodness mattered? But did it? Did it really? Or was that just something people told themselves to feel better about failing? She put her head in her hands. Right there on the highway, surrounded by traffic and noise and the indifferent rush of the world, she broke. Silent tears ran down her face. Her shoulders shook. All the strength she'd been pretending to have, all the faith she'd been clinging to, all the hope she'd been protecting like a fragile flame, it guttered. God, she whispered. Not a prayer, really, just a word, a question, a why. God, I don't understand. I'm trying. I'm being good. I'm doing what Mama taught me. But it's not working. Nothing is working. And she's dying. And I'm failing her. And these women are laughing at me. And I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know if being kind is right, or if it's just stupid. I don't know anything anymore. No answer came, just the traffic, just the heat, just the weight of her unsold oranges, and her dying mother, and her too soft heart that everyone said would destroy her. And maybe they were right. Maybe they'd been right all along. If you've ever felt like your kindness was being punished instead of rewarded, drop prayer below. Let me know I'm not alone in understanding what Ngozi feels right now. 6 p.m. came. The sun began its descent. The traffic thinned, and Ngozi's orange count remained the same. 21. Not 20. Not 19. 21. 2 days, 0 sales, 2 oranges given away, 0 income, negative progress. She packed up slowly. Every movement felt heavy, like her bones were made of lead, like gravity had doubled, like the universe itself was weighing her down. The walk home was torture, each step an accusation, each breath a reminder of failure. She passed Mama Tunde's house. The woman was outside again, this time with more friends, more audience for her judgment. Look who's coming. The charity organization, the free orange distribution center. Laughter exploded. Ngozi kept walking. How many you gave away today? 1, 2, 10? More laughter. Ngozi kept walking. But inside, something was dying. That soft, kind, hopeful part of her that Mama loved. That part that believed goodness mattered. That part was bleeding out, and she didn't know how to stop it. Mama wasn't sitting up tonight. She was lying flat, and for a terrible moment Ngozi thought, no. She was breathing, barely, shallowly, but breathing. Mama? Ngozi knelt beside her, fear choking her voice. Mama's eyes opened, slowly, like even that small act cost too much energy. Ngozi, I'm home. Her voice was barely a whisper, weaker than this morning, weaker than yesterday, weaker than last week. Time was running out, not in months, not in weeks, in days, maybe less. How was today? Mama asked. And oh God, that question, that innocent, hopeful question. And Ngozi couldn't do it anymore, couldn't lie anymore, couldn't pretend anymore. Mama, her voice cracked. I didn't sell anything. Again, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm trying, but nobody wants to buy, and the women laugh at me, and I don't know what to do. And you're getting worse, and I'm failing you, Mama. I'm failing you. And Mama, I did something. I gave away 2 oranges to a hungry man, 2 days in a row. I know I shouldn't have. I know we need every sale. But he was so hungry, and you taught me to help hungry people.
Stupid and
but
soft
now the
and cursed. And maybe they're right, Mama. Maybe I am too soft. Maybe kindness is wrong when your mother is dying. Maybe I should have been harder, smarter, more like Mama Tunde. But I couldn't, Mama. I couldn't. And now we have nothing. And you're getting worse, and it's my fault. It's all my fault. She was sobbing now, full of body-shaking sobs, all the tears she'd been holding back, all the fear she'd been suppressing, all the guilt and doubt, desperation pouring out. Mama's hand moved, slowly, weakly, found Ngozi's hand, squeezed with whatever strength remained. Ngozi, Mama whispered, look at me. Ngozi looked up through tears. Mama's eyes were clear, clearer than they'd been in days, like she'd found some reserve of strength for this moment, for these words. You did the right thing, Mama said, each word an effort, each word costing her. Feeding that man, helping him, that's what I taught you. That's who you are. Don't let them make you doubt it. Don't let poverty steal your soul, my daughter. I'd rather die with a kind daughter than live with a wicked one. But Mama, listen to me. Mama's voice got stronger, just for a moment, just for this. Some things are more important than money, more important than survival. Your soul is one of them. You keep your kindness, you hear me? You keep your soft heart, even if it costs you, even if the world laughs, even if She coughed, a terrible, wet cough that shook her whole body. When it stopped, blood flecked her lips. Ngozi's heart stopped. Even if I die, Mama finished, you stay good. Promise me, one more time, promise me you won't let this world make you hard. Ngozi wanted to scream, wanted to say no, wanted to say she'd become as hard as necessary if it meant saving Mama. But looking into her mother's eyes, seeing what mattered most to the woman who'd given her everything, I promise, Mama, she whispered. I promise. Mama smiled, closed her eyes, and Ngozi sat there beside her, holding her hand, listening to her labored breathing, and made a decision. Tomorrow. Tomorrow she would try again, would sit at that highway, would be kind if the opportunity came, would stay soft even though everything screamed to protect herself. Not because it made sense, not because it would save Mama, but because Mama asked her to. Because keeping a promise to a dying mother mattered more than mathematics, more than survival, more than anything. Tomorrow was day 3. The last day before the stranger had said he'd come back. The last day before everything would change. But Ngozi didn't know that. Tonight, she just sat, holding her mother's hand, keeping her promise, staying soft, and praying that somehow, impossibly, goodness still mattered, that the universe still kept score, that kindness still counted, even when everything said it didn't. Subscribe if you want to see if Ngozi's kindness gets rewarded, because day 3 is coming and something impossible is about to happen. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. That night, Ngozi didn't sleep, couldn't sleep. She lay on her mat staring at the ceiling, listening to Mama's troubled breathing, and thought about choices, about roads taken and not taken, about the women in the village who were hard and successful, who had money, who weren't watching their mothers die. Those women had made different choices, had chosen survival over kindness, profit over compassion, self-preservation over charity, and it had worked for them. They had food, money, security. What did Ngozi have? 21 unsold oranges, a dying mother, a reputation in the village as the village fool. The arithmetic was clear. Being kind was costing her everything. And yet, Mama's words echoed. Some things are more important than money, more important than survival. Your soul is one of them. Was that true? Could that be true? In a world where money was the difference between life and death, where hunger was the daily reality for millions, could there really be something more important than survival? Ngozi didn't have the answer, but she knew one thing. Tomorrow she'd find out. Tomorrow she would go back to that highway, back to those oranges, back to that choice between hardness and softness, and she'd stay soft. One more day. Because Mama asked her to. Because she made a promise to a dying mother. Because maybe, just maybe, there was a universe somewhere that noticed these things, that counted these moments, that rewarded faith when logic said to give up. Or maybe not. Maybe the hard women were right. Maybe kindness was just poverty's way of justifying failure. But tomorrow she'd find out. Tomorrow was day 3, and something was coming. Something impossible. Something that would prove whether her kindness had been seen, whether her sacrifice had been recorded, whether the universe really did keep score. She didn't know that yet, but she would. Soon. Very soon. Day 3. The sun rose like a witness, like it had been watching all along, like it knew what was coming. Ngozi woke before dawn, checked on Mama, still breathing, still alive, still dying. She said her prayers, loaded her basket, 21 oranges, the same 21 from yesterday, the same ones that would probably come home unsold today. But she was going anyway, because that's what you do when you make a promise to a dying mother. You keep it, even when it seems pointless, even when every logical part of your brain screams to stop, even when the whole world calls you a fool. She walked to the highway as the sun painted the sky gold and pink. Beautiful. The world was beautiful even when your heart was breaking, even when your mother was dying, even when you were failing at everything that mattered. She reached her spot, set up her umbrella, arranged her oranges, and for the first time in 3 days, she didn't pray for sales. She didn't pray for success. She didn't even pray for Mama to be healed. She prayed something simpler, more fundamental, more honest. God, she whispered, I don't understand your plan. I don't understand why being kind seems to make things worse. I don't understand why my mother is dying while wicked people prosper. I don't understand any of this. But I'm going to trust you anyway. Because Mama asked me to. Because I made a promise to a dying mother. So whatever happens today, help me stay soft. Help me stay kind. Help me keep my promise. That's all I'm asking. The sun climbed higher. The traffic started. The day began. Day 3. The last day of waiting. The last day before the answer came. The last day before 4 black SUVs would arrive and change everything. But Ngozi didn't know that. She just knew she was tired. She was scared. She was poor. But she was staying soft. And somehow, that would have to be enough. It was around 11:30 when she saw him again. The stranger. 3rd day in a row, walking along that highway like he lived there, like this was his route, his pilgrimage. And when he saw Ngozi, his face lit up, actually lit up, like seeing an old friend, like seeing something precious in a world of garbage. He walked straight to her, stood in front of her oranges, and before he could say anything, before he could explain or ask, Ngozi did something that surprised even herself. She picked up an orange, the 3rd best one she had. Not the best, she was still human, still had some sense of self-preservation, but good enough, big enough, sweet enough, and she held it out to him. "Good morning, sir," she said simply. The stranger stared, at the orange, at her, at the orange again. "Sister Ngozi, you know I have no money again today. You know I can't pay, and yet you're offering before I even ask? You need to eat, sir. That's all that matters. But you haven't sold anything. I've been watching. I've seen you here 3 days. Nobody stops. You need these oranges." "And you need to eat," Ngozi repeated. "Please, sir, take it. Don't make me beg you to accept help." Something changed in the stranger's face. Something shifted. His eyes, those intelligent eyes, filled with an emotion Ngozi couldn't identify. Respect? Wonder? Something else? "Why?" he asked quietly. "Why do you keep doing this? Why do you keep helping me when you're suffering yourself, when you have every reason to protect what little you have? Why?" Ngozi thought about Mama, about the promise, about the soul that was supposed to be more important than survival. "Because, sir," she said slowly, "my mother taught me that we're not just bodies that need food and money. We're souls, and souls need to do good things, need to help people, need to stay soft even when the world is hard. My mother is dying, and maybe I can't save her body, but I can honor her soul by keeping mine clean, by staying who she raised me to be, even if it costs me everything." The stranger took the orange, but he didn't eat it immediately like the other days. He held it, stared at it, like it was a diamond, like it was the most valuable thing in the world. 3 days, he said softly. 3 days you've fed me. 3 days you've shown me kindness. Do you know how rare you are, Sister Ngozi? Do you know how many people I've met in my life who would do what you're doing? I'm not special, sir. I'm just trying to keep a promise to my mother. You are special. More than you know, and I want you to remember something. Remember this moment. Remember that you chose kindness 3 times when you had every reason to choose yourself. Remember that you stayed soft when the world told you to be hard. Can you remember that? Yes, sir. Good. Because very soon you're going to understand why these 3 days mattered, why these 3 oranges mattered, why your softness, your kindness, your refusal to become hard.
A different smile than before, knowing, almost mysterious. "I have to go now. But Sister Ngozi, keep your heart the way it is. Don't let anyone change you. And watch for me. I'll be back, sooner than you think, with something you need." He walked away, and this time something in his walk was different, less tired, more purposeful, like a man who'd found what he was looking for, like a man on a mission. Ngozi watched him disappear into the traffic, confusion mixing with hope in her chest. What did he mean? What was he talking about? She shook her head. Probably just a kind man's way of saying thank you. Probably meant nothing. Probably... She looked down at her oranges. 20. 20 left. 3 days. 3 oranges given away. 0 sold. The mathematics of disaster. And yet, somehow, she felt lighter. Like she'd passed some invisible test. Like those 3 oranges weren't waste, weren't failure, were something else, something important. She didn't understand it, but she felt it,
And for the first time in 3 days, that small, fragile flame of hope flickered back to life. Drop 3 in the comments if you think giving away those 3 oranges was going to matter. Let's see who believes in miracles. 11:15. The sun was merciless. The heat was like a physical weight. And then, like an answer to a prayer she hadn't quite prayed, a car slowed down. Actually slowed down. Stopped. Parked right in front of her spot. Ngozi jumped up so fast she almost knocked over her orange crate. A customer. An actual customer. A middle-aged woman stepped out. Well-dressed. Gold jewelry. The kind of woman who had money. The kind who could afford to buy all 20 oranges without thinking twice. "Good afternoon, Ma." Ngozi's voice was bright, eager, desperate not to scare this miracle away. "How much are your oranges?" the woman asked, looking them over with a critical eye. 50 naira each, Ma, but very sweet, very fresh." The woman picked one up, examined it like a jeweler examining a diamond for flaws, squeezed it, smelled it, put it back, picked up another. Same inspection. "These are small," she said. Ngozi's heart sank. "No, Ma, they're normal size, good size, sweet inside. And you've been sitting here how long? In this heat? These oranges are probably already going bad inside." "No, Ma, fresh. I just bought them." A lie, but what choice did she have? 40 naira each, final price. 40. 10 naira less than asking price, but 40 was better than 0. 40 times 20 was 800 naira. 800 naira was more money than Ngozi had seen in weeks. It was food, medicine, hope. "Yes, Ma," Ngozi said quickly. "How many you want?" "I'll take—" She stopped, stared past Ngozi. "What's that?" Ngozi turned. A rat, a filthy rat, was near her orange crate, probably attracted by the fruit smell. The woman jumped back. "Rats? Your oranges have rats around them? You think I'll buy food from where rats are?" "No, Ma, wait, the rat just came, just now. The oranges are clean." "Forget it." The woman hurried back to her car. "I'm not buying rat-infected oranges." "Ma, please." But the car was already starting, already pulling away, already disappearing back into traffic, taking Ngozi's hope with it. She stood there, watching the car go, feeling like she'd just watched someone rip away a winning lottery ticket. So close, so impossibly close, and yet still 0, still nothing, still failing. The rat scurried away, indifferent to the disaster it had caused, and Ngozi sat back down. 20 oranges, 0 sales, 3 days, and the universe's cruel sense of humor. Noon, the worst hour, the hottest hour, the hour when even hope melts, and that's when Mama Tunde arrived. Not walking past this time, walking to, walking with purpose, with an audience of 2 friends trailing her like disciples. "Ngozi!" Mama Tunde's voice was loud, deliberately loud, making sure her friends could hear, making sure anyone nearby could hear. "I need to talk to you." "Yes, Ma," Ngozi said quietly, dread pooling in her stomach. "I've been watching you, 3 days now. You know what I've seen?" Ngozi stayed silent. "I've seen you give away 3 oranges, 3, to the same beggar man 3 days a row. And you know how many you've sold?" Silence. "How many, Ngozi? Tell these people how many you've sold." I haven't sold any yet, Ma." "Haven't sold any. 3 days, 0 sales, but 3 giveaways. You know what that makes you? A fool, a complete fool." The friends laughed right on cue, like a trained chorus of judgment. "But that's not even why I came. I came to tell you something important, something you need to hear before it's too late." She leaned in close, close enough that Ngozi could smell her perfume, close enough that her words landed like punches. "Your mother is going to die because you're too stupid to save her. too soft, too kind, too foolish. You're sitting here giving away food to strangers while your mother dies at home. And when she's gone, when you're standing at her grave, you'll remember today. You'll remember these 3 oranges. You'll remember that you chose kindness over saving her, and you'll have to live with that for the rest of your life. Each word was a knife, each sentence a wound, and Mama Tunde knew it was landing, saw it landing, saw Ngozi breaking, and smiled. "I'm telling you this as a kindness," she said, voice dripping with false compassion. "Change now. Become smart. Become hard, before it's too late, before you lose everything because you were too soft to do what needed to be done." She walked away. Her friends followed, their laughter echoing, and Ngozi sat there, those words burrowing into her mind like parasites, eating at her resolve, poisoning her peace, making her doubt everything. Everything. Was Mama Tunde right? Was she killing her mother with kindness? Was softness just another word for murder? She put her head in her hands, and for the first time seriously considered giving up. Not on selling, on being kind, on staying soft. Maybe it was time to become hard. Maybe it was time to save herself. Maybe Mama would understand. Maybe. But today was almost over. A few more hours, and she could go home, could lie to Mama one more night, could pretend one more time that things weren't falling apart. Just a few more hours. She wiped her tears, tried to compose herself, tried to look like a person instead of a disaster, and waited for the day to end, for this nightmare to be over, for tomorrow, when she'd become someone else, someone harder, someone who would survive. But what Ngozi didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that she didn't need to wait for tomorrow, that today wasn't over, that 3 days of kindness had been witnessed, recorded, measured, that 4 black SUVs were already on the road, that men in expensive suits were already looking for her, that the stranger she'd fed wasn't a stranger at all, that her softness, her kindness, her refusal to become hard, that it was all about to be rewarded in a way she couldn't imagine. But she didn't know that yet. Not yet. So she just sat, broken, crying, ready to give up on kindness forever, ready to become hard tomorrow, if only she could survive today. 1 p.m. became 3 p.m. 3 became 4. Each hour felt like a week, each minute like an hour. Time itself seemed to be mocking her, stretching, making her suffer longer, making her wait in this heat, in this failure, in this crushing disappointment. A few cars passed, none stopped, not even close. The traffic that had been busy this morning was quieter now, like even the traffic was abandoning her, like the whole world was telling her to give up and go home. At 4:30 she started packing up early. What was the point? Nobody was going to buy. Nobody had bought in 3 days. Why torture herself for another hour and a half? She was reaching for her orange crate when she heard something. An engine. Actually, multiple engines. Big ones. The kind you hear before you see. The kind that announce wealth and power and importance. She looked up and froze. 4 vehicles. Black SUVs. Expensive. The kind she'd only seen on TV. The kind that carried politicians, governors, billionaires. And they were slowing down. Actually slowing down. Coming towards her spot.
The SUVs were impossible to miss. In this small stretch of highway, they were like spaceships landing in a village square. Unreal. Impossible. Shocking. Within minutes, people started gathering, running from their compounds, abandoning their market stalls, coming from everywhere.
What's happening? Who is that? Why are they stopped here? Is it the governor? Maybe the president? Look at those cars. Those are Range Rovers. You know how much those cost? Phones came out. People started recording, taking pictures. This was the kind of thing you'd tell your grandchildren about. The day 4 luxury SUVs stopped in their village. The crowd grew. 30 people, 50, more coming. And among them, pushing through to get a better view, were the 3 women. Mama Tunde and her friends, the ones who'd been mocking Ngozi all week, the ones who'd called her soft, stupid, cursed. They pushed to the front of the crowd, saw the SUVs, saw the men in suits, saw Ngozi standing there, frozen, staring at the man stepping out of the lead vehicle. And Mama Tunde's mouth fell open. Is that the beggar man? The one Ngozi was giving oranges to? Her friend squinted. It looks like him, but he's wearing an expensive suit, Mama Tunde finished. Those shoes alone cost more than everything I own. Who is he? I don't know, but he's rich, very rich, and he's walking toward Ngozi. The crowd fell silent, everyone watching, everyone recording, everyone witnessing, and Mama Tunde felt something she hadn't felt in years. Fear. Cold, creeping fear, because she'd been wrong, horribly wrong, and everyone was about to see it. The man, no, not a man, someone important, someone powerful, walked toward Ngozi, slowly, deliberately, like he wanted this moment to last, like he wanted everyone to see. The bodyguards followed at a respectful distance. The crowd held its breath. And Ngozi just stood there, mind reeling, heart racing, unable to process what she was seeing, unable to understand what was happening. He stopped 2 meters away, close enough to talk, far enough to be formal, official. He removed his sunglasses, and those eyes, those intelligent, measuring eyes that had watched her 3 days in a row, now sparkled with something that looked like joy. "Sister Ngozi," he said. His voice was the same, but stronger now, more confident, the voice of someone used to being heard, used to being obeyed. "Do you know who I am?" She shook her head, couldn't speak, couldn't form words. "My name is Adeyemi, Mr. Adeyemi. I own Adeyemi Enterprises, manufacturing, real estate, investments. Maybe you've heard of it." She hadn't, but from the gasps in the crowd, others had. "I'm what people call a billionaire," he continued. "But 3 days ago, I did something I do every few years. I disguised myself as a poor man, dressed in old clothes, walked the streets, went to markets, highways, places where people sell things, and I tested people." The crowd was silent, riveted. "I tested 53 people over 5 days, asked for help, for water, for food, for small kindnesses. Do you know how many helped me? How many showed compassion to a stranger who looked poor?" Ngozi shook her head. "1, he said. "Only 1. You. Only you, Sister Ngozi. Out of 53 people, you were the only one who gave. Not once, not twice, 3 times, 3 days in a row, even though you had nothing, even though you were suffering, even though everyone told you it was foolish, you gave anyway." He took a step closer. "And that's why I'm here, because I make it my mission to find people like you, people who stay kind when the world tells them to be cruel, people who stay soft when everyone says to be hard, people who give when they have nothing, because those people are rare, precious, worth more than gold, and they deserve to be rewarded." He turned to his bodyguards, snapped his fingers. One of them approached with a briefcase, a large one, black, official-looking. Mr. Adeyemi took it, held it, looked at Ngozi. "This is for you. But before I give it to you, I want everyone here to understand something. I want them to witness what happens when you stay kind, when you refuse to become hard, when you keep your soft heart even when poverty says to protect yourself." He turned to the crowd, found Mama Tunde with his eyes, stared directly at her. "Some of you mocked this girl, called her stupid, foolish, cursed, told her she was too soft, too kind, that she'd die poor because of her good heart. Well, let me tell you something. You were wrong. Completely wrong. Because kindness is never wasted. Generosity is never foolish. And people who stay good in a cruel world don't get cursed. They get blessed. He turned back to Ngozi. So here is my blessing to you, Sister Ngozi, for being the only person in 53 who remembered what it means to be human. He opened the briefcase, and even from a distance, even through her shock, she could see what was inside. Money. Stacks and stacks of money. More money than she'd ever seen. More money than she'd ever imagined. More money than existed in her world. 5 million naira, Mr. Adeyemi said, for 3 oranges, for 3 acts of kindness, for staying soft when everyone told you to be hard. The crowd gasped. Mama Tunde's face went white. And Ngozi? Ngozi's legs gave out. She collapsed to her knees, not from fear, not from shock, from something else. From the realization that the universe was keeping score, that her softness wasn't foolishness, that her kindness wasn't wasted, that everything Mama had taught her was true, that goodness mattered, that staying kind was worth it, that the world did reward those who refused to become cruel. And as she knelt there, tears streaming down her face, she heard Mama's voice in her head. Some things are more important than money. Your soul is one of them. But sometimes, child, when you take care of your soul, God takes care of everything else. Mr. Adeyemi knelt down beside her, placed the briefcase in front of her. But that's not all, he said gently. I heard about your mother, about your sickness, about you sitting here desperate to save her. So I've also made arrangements. My driver has the details. Full hospital care, best doctors, best facility, surgery if needed, everything completely paid for, starting tomorrow. Ngozi looked up, unable to speak, unable to process, unable to believe. You fed me 3 days, Mr. Adeyemi said. Now I feed your family for a lifetime. That's how this works. That's how kindness works. You gave when you had nothing, so I'm giving when I have everything. And I want everyone here to witness this, to remember this, to tell this story, so that maybe, just maybe, more people will choose to stay soft, to stay kind, to stay human. He stood up, extended his hand, helped Ngozi to her feet, and the crowd erupted, cheering, shouting, celebrating. Everyone wanted to touch her, congratulate her, be near this miracle, this impossible, wonderful, redemptive miracle. But Ngozi only had one thought, one overwhelming, all-consuming thought. Mama. She needed to get to Mama, needed to tell her, needed to show her that her teaching was right, that staying soft was worth it, that goodness mattered, that staying kind was worth it, that the world did reward those who refused to become cruel. And as if reading her mind, Mr. Adeyemi smiled. Go, he said, go to your mother. My men will bring everything to your house, the money, the hospital arrangements, everything. Go, tell her what happened. Tell her that your daughter's kindness saved both of you. Go. And Ngozi ran through the crowd, ran down the highway, ran toward home, ran toward Mama, with her heart full, her faith restored, her kindness vindicated. And behind her, the crowd watched, the village whispered, the story began spreading, and Mama Tunde stood silently, understanding too late that she'd been wrong
like she'd never run before. The briefcase clutched to her chest, her wrapper coming loose, her head wrap falling off, not caring, not stopping, just running toward the one person who needed to know, the one person who deserved to know, the one person whose faith had made this possible. Mama! Mama! She was shouting before she even reached their compound. Mama! Neighbors came out of their houses, stared, pointed. They'd heard about the SUVs. The news was spreading like wildfire through the village. 4 luxury vehicles, a billionaire. Ngozi, the soft, foolish, cursed girl, suddenly at the center of the most incredible story anyone had ever witnessed. What happened? Is it true?
Did she really get 5 million naira? But Ngozi didn't stop to answer, couldn't stop, could only run, her lungs burning, her legs aching, her heart about to explode, not from exhaustion, from joy, pure, overwhelming, impossible joy. She burst through their door. Mama! Mama, wake up! You have to hear this! You have to... She stopped. Mama wasn't on her mat. For one terrible, heart-stopping moment, Ngozi thought, no, Mama was sitting up, actually sitting up, against the wall, more alert than she'd been in days, like she'd been waiting, like she'd known something was coming. Ngozi? Mama's voice was weak but clear. What's wrong? Why are you shouting? Why are you... She saw the briefcase, saw her daughter's face, saw something that made her eyes widen. What happened? Ngozi fell to her knees beside her mother, opened the briefcase, let Mama see, and watched her mother's face transform, watched disbelief become wonder, wonder become tears. Ngozi, Mama whispered, what is this? Where did you... How did you... The stranger, Mama, the man I gave oranges to. 3 days. He wasn't a stranger. He was testing people, testing kindness. And Mama, I was the only one. Out of 53 people, I was the only one who helped, the only one who gave. And he came back, Mama. He came back with SUVs and bodyguards, and he gave me this, 5 million naira for 3 oranges, for staying soft when everyone told me to be hard, for keeping my promise to you. The tears came, for both of them. Mama reached out with trembling hands, touched the money like it might disappear, like it might be a dream. And that's not all, Ngozi continued, her words tumbling over each other in her rush to tell everything. He's paying for your treatment. Everything. Hospital, doctors, surgery if you need it, the best care. He said his driver is bringing the details. Starting tomorrow, Mama. Tomorrow you get treatment. Real treatment. You're going to live. You're going to be okay. Your teaching saved us. Your words saved us. Staying soft saved us. Mama Ngozi pulled her daughter close, held her with whatever strength remained, and sobbed. Not from pain, not from weakness, from vindication, from joy, from the overwhelming rightness of the universe finally making sense. I told you, she whispered into her daughter's hair. I told you kindness mattered. I told you your soul was more important than survival. I told you God was watching. I told you, my sweet girl. I told you. They held each other, mother and daughter, poor no more, dying no more, suffering no more, just holding each other in that small room that suddenly felt like a palace. And outside, the village gathered, the news spreading, the story growing, the impossible truth settling over everyone like a revelation. If this moment made you emotional, drop heart below and subscribe because we're not done yet. Wait until you see what happens to the people who mocked her. Within 30 minutes, half of the village was outside Ngozi's compound. The other half was on their way. This was the biggest thing to happen in living memory. Bigger than when the governor visited. Bigger than when the pastor's church built that new building. Bigger than anything. Because this was one of their own. A poor girl. The girl they'd all dismissed, mocked, pitied. And she'd just been blessed by a billionaire. 5 million naira? For 3 oranges? For keeping soft when everyone told her to be hard? For 5 million? The story was already growing, already becoming legend, already transforming from fact to folklore. And he's paying for her mother's treatment. Everything. Full hospital care. Private hospital, not government. The girl we call foolish. The one Mama Tunde binde mock. At the mention of Mama Tunde's name, the crowd shifted, turned, looked, because Mama Tunde was there, standing at the edge of the gathering, silent, her face a mixture of emotions impossible to read, shock, disbelief, something that might have been shame. Her 2 friends stood beside her, equally silent, equally stunned, because they'd all been wrong, Publicly wrong. Spectacularly wrong. They'd mocked the one person who'd been doing everything right. They'd called foolish what turned out to be wisdom. They'd laughed at what should have been honored. And now the whole village knew it. "Mama Tunde," someone called out. "You dey hear? Come see. The soft girl done win. The kind girl done chop better blessing." Laughter. Not cruel laughter this time, just ironic laughter. The laughter of people witnessing poetic justice, witnessing the universe correct an injustice, witnessing the elevation of someone who deserved it, and the humbling of those who'd been cruel. Mama Tunde said nothing, just stood there, experiencing something she hadn't experienced in decades, being wrong, and everyone knowing it. 2 of the SUVs arrived at Ngozi's compound just as the sun was setting. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. These weren't people you stood in the way of. These were people you made room for. 2 bodyguards stepped out. One carried a folder. Official documents, hospital papers, treatment plans, schedules. Everything organized. Everything arranged. Everything paid for. The second bodyguard carried something else. A business card. Simple. Elegant. Mr. Adeyemi's personal number. For anything you need, they told Ngozi when she came out to meet them. Mr. Adeyemi wants you to know this isn't a one-time thing. He's invested in your success, in your future. If you need help with anything, education, business, whatever, you call this number. Ngozi took the card with shaking hands, couldn't speak, could only nod. "The hospital has been notified," the first bodyguard continued. "Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., a private ambulance will come here, will take your mother to Lagoon Hospital in Lagos, best oncology department in West Africa. Dr. Okonkwo himself will handle her case. Here are all the details." He handed her the folder. Everything in plastic sleeves, professional, complete, real. "And one more thing," the second bodyguard said. "Mr. Adeyemi wanted you to have this." He handed her an envelope, heavy, quality paper. Inside, a letter, handwritten. She'd read it later, when things were quieter, when her mind could process. "He also wanted me to tell you something," the bodyguard continued. He said, "Tell Sister Ngozi that I tested 53 people, but I was hoping to find just one person who still remembered what it means to be human, and I found her. Tell her that changes everything. Tell her that people like her give people like me hope. Tell her thank you for staying soft, for staying kind, for refusing to become hard. Thank you for reminding me why I do this." The bodyguard's voice was professional, but his eyes were gentle. Like even he was moved by this story. Like even these men who saw wealth and power every day recognized something special here, something rare, something sacred. They left. The SUVs pulled away, and the crowd surged forward, everyone wanting to see, to touch, to be part of this miracle, to witness history. And in the middle of it all, Ngozi stood holding a folder that represented her mother's life, and a letter from a billionaire who called her kind, who thanked her for staying soft, who validated everything she'd ever believed. She looked up at the darkening sky, at the first stars appearing, and whispered, "Thank you. Thank you for keeping score. Thank you for noticing. Thank you for making it all worth it." Which country are you watching from? Drop your flag below. Let's see how far this story of kindness has
traveled. From the edge of the crowd, watched the bodyguards deliver documents, watched the village celebrate, watched Ngozi's transformation from village fool to village hero. And something broke inside her. Not her pride, that would take longer, but her certainty, that absolute confidence that she'd been right, that hardness was wisdom, that cruelty was just practical, that kindness was for fools. It was breaking, cracking, letting in doubt. She thought about the past week, every interaction with Ngozi, every mocking word, every cruel laugh, every time she'd called that girl foolish, stupid, cursed, and she'd been wrong, completely wrong. The soft girl had won, the kind girl had been blessed,
and the hard woman stood alone, watching, realizing too late that she'd spent 30 years becoming someone that even she didn't particularly like. "Mama Tunde!" She turned, one of her friends. The woman's face was carefully neutral, but her eyes asked the question her mouth didn't. What do we do now? Because they'd all been wrong together. They'd all mocked Ngozi together. They'd all laughed at her softness together. And now they were all being proven wrong together. "We should go home," Mama Tunde said quietly. "We're not wanted here." "But everyone is celebrating." "We're not wanted," Mama Tunde repeated. "We don't belong in this celebration. We weren't part of her kindness. We were part of her suffering. And that's not something you celebrate." She walked away. Her friends followed. And for the first time in 30 years of being hard, of being smart, of being practical and cruel and successful in all the ways that mattered to her, Mama Tunde felt poor. Not financially poor, but poor in a different way. Poor in the ways that money couldn't fix. Poor in the ways that only years of being kind could heal. And she wondered if it was too late, if 30 years of hardness could be undone, if someone like her could learn to be soft again. She didn't have an answer, but as she walked home, hearing the celebration continuing behind her, she realized something. She'd spent her whole life teaching young women to be hard, to be cruel, to protect themselves, to care only about profit and survival. And tonight, one soft girl had proven all of that teaching worthless, had proven that there was another way, a better way, a way that led to blessing instead of bitterness. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to learn from the student instead of teaching. Time to unlearn 30 years of hardness. Time to remember what it felt like to be kind. But that was a tomorrow problem. Tonight, she just walked home, alone with her thoughts, alone with her mistakes, alone with the realization that she'd been wrong about everything. The celebration went late into the night. People brought food. The same people who'd watched Ngozi struggle without offering help suddenly had plenty to share. They brought drinks, music, joy. Everyone wanted to be part of the story now. Everyone wanted to say they'd always believed in her, always known she was special, always supported her kindness. The lies we tell ourselves to be part of someone else's victory. But Ngozi didn't care about the hypocrisy, didn't care about the fair-weather friends, didn't care about the same people who'd mocked her now celebrating her. She just cared that Mama was smiling, actually smiling. For the first time in months, Mama looked alive, looked hopeful, looked like she might actually survive this. And that was worth everything. Worth the mockery, worth the struggle, worth the 3 days of doubt, everything. "Ngozi," a woman from the market pushed through the crowd, "I always knew you were special, always told people that Ngozi, she has a good heart." Ngozi smiled, said nothing. Because what do you say to someone who's lying to your face, to someone who's rewriting history to be on the winning side? You smile, you nod, you let them have their version. Because tonight wasn't about settling scores. Tonight wasn't about proving who was wrong and who was right. Tonight was about the bigger truth, that the universe kept score even when humans didn't. That somewhere, somehow, goodness was recorded, kindness was measured, and eventually it was rewarded. If you believe kindness always wins in the end, drop prayer and subscribe, because this story isn't over yet. Part 5 will show you what happens next. Later, much later, when the crowd had finally dispersed and the village had finally gone to sleep, Ngozi sat beside Mama in their small room, the room that would be theirs for only one more night. Tomorrow, everything changed. Tomorrow, the ambulance came. Tomorrow, treatment began. Tomorrow, a new life started. But tonight, this moment was still theirs, still quiet, still sacred. "Read me the letter," Mama said softly. "The one from the billionaire." Ngozi had forgotten about it. The envelope the bodyguard had given her. She opened it carefully, pulled out thick, expensive paper, unfolded it, and read aloud. "Dear Sister Ngozi, by the time you read this, you'll know who I am. You'll know that the stranger you fed was not what he seemed. But I want you to know something else, something important. I wasn't lying when I said I was hungry. I wasn't pretending when I said I needed help. In that moment, dressed in those clothes, walking that highway, I was exactly what I appeared to be, a man in need, and you helped me. Not because you knew who I really was, but because you saw need and responded with kindness. That's what makes your gift pure. You didn't help me hoping for a reward. You helped me because it was right, because your mother taught you to, because your soul demanded it. I've met thousands of people in my life, rich people, poor people, powerful people, weak people. And you know what I've learned? Money doesn't make you kind. Poverty doesn't make you cruel. Those are choices. Every day we choose to be soft or hard, whether to help or ignore, whether to give or hoard. You chose kindness 3 times when you had every reason to choose yourself. That's rare. That's precious. That's why I came back. Not just to reward you, though you deserve every naira in that briefcase, but to prove something to myself and to everyone watching. I wanted to prove that kindness isn't foolish, that softness isn't weakness, that staying good in a cruel world doesn't make you a victim, it makes you a victor. You won, Sister Ngozi, not because you got money. You won before the money came. You won when you chose kindness the first time, and the second, and the third. You won when you kept your promise to your mother. You won when you kept soft, despite everyone telling you to be hard. The money is just the visible part of your victory, but the real victory was in your soul, in your choice, in your refusal to become cruel. Thank you for that. Thank you for being proof that good people still exist, that kindness still matters, that the world hasn't completely lost its humanity. Stay soft, Sister Ngozi. Stay kind. The world needs more people like you. With gratitude and respect, Mr. Adeyemi. Mama was crying. Ngozi was crying, both of them understanding that this letter was more valuable than the money, because the money would run out eventually, but these words, this validation, would last forever. He's right, you know, Mama whispered. You already won, before the money, before the blessing. You won when you chose to stay who I raised you to be, when you kept your promise, when you stayed soft. The money just made it visible, but you were victorious already. Ngozi leaned against her mother, felt her warmth, her presence, her life that would now continue, and thought about the past 3 days. 3 days that felt like 3 years. 3 days of testing, 3 days of doubt, 3 days of choosing kindness when everything said to choose cruelty. And it had all been worth it. Every moment, every tear, every doubt, worth it. Morning came too quickly and not quickly enough. Ngozi awoke before dawn, couldn't sleep anyway. Too much had happened, too much was about to happen. She prepared a small bag for Mama, clean clothes, the few things they owned that seemed nice enough for a private hospital. Not that it mattered, but still, she wanted Mama to feel dignified, to feel worthy of the care she was about to receive. Ngozi, Mama's voice, stronger this morning. What time is the ambulance coming? 9 a.m., Mama. We have time. Come sit with me. I want to tell you something. Ngozi sat, took her mother's hand, hands that had worked so hard for so many years, hands that were finally going to rest, to heal, to recover. You saved my life, Mama said. No, Mama, Ngozi. Mama, you saved my life, not with money, with character, with kindness, with staying who I raised you to be. If you'd become hard like the village wanted, if you'd become cruel, if you'd protected yourself and ignored that stranger, I'd rather have died, because I'd have failed as a mother. I'd have raised someone who traded their soul for survival, and that would have been worse than death. She squeezed her mother's hand, but you didn't. You stayed soft. You kept your promise. You honored me not just by trying to save my body, but by protecting your soul. That's what saved me. Your character, your kindness, your refusal to become something you're not. Thank you, my daughter. Thank you for being exactly who I prayed you'd become. They sat together as the sun rose, as the new day began, as their new life started. And outside, the village was waking up to a new story, a new truth, a new understanding that the soft girl had been right all along, that kindness wasn't foolishness, that staying good in a cruel world wasn't weakness. It was the truest strength.
The ambulance arrived. Private, clean, professional, with a medical team that treated Mama like she was royalty. Not like a poor village woman who couldn't pay, like someone important, someone valuable, someone whose life mattered. They loaded her carefully, gently, with respect and care. And as they prepared to leave, the village gathered again. But this time, the energy was different, respectful, awed, witnessing not just a blessing, but a lesson, a living parable about the rewards of kindness, about staying true to yourself, about refusing to become hard even when the world demands it. Ngozi climbed into the ambulance with Mama, looked out at the crowd, saw faces she'd known her whole life. Some had been kind, most had been cruel, a few had been indifferent, but all of them were watching. All of them were learning. All of them were witnessing what happened when you stayed soft in a hard world. And maybe some of them would remember, would change, would choose kindness next time, would stay soft when everything screamed to be hard. Maybe. The ambulance pulled away, heading toward Lagos, toward the hospital, toward treatment, toward life. And behind them, the village watched. The story spreading, the legend growing, the soft girl who became a village hero, the kind girl who got blessed by a billionaire, the foolish girl who turned out to be the wisest of them all. And somewhere on a highway between Lagos and Ibadan, at a dusty roadside orange-selling spot, 20 oranges sat in a crate, unsold, unneeded, left behind, because her owner didn't need to sell oranges anymore. She'd already sold something more valuable. She'd sold the world proof that kindness mattered, that goodness counted, that staying soft was strength. And that proof had bought her more than 5 million naira ever could. It had bought her vindication, validation, victory. But most importantly, it had bought her something priceless. The knowledge that her mother was right, that her promise was worth keeping, that her soul was more important than survival, and that in the end, when all the mathematics were done and all the scores were tallied, the soft ones didn't lose, they won. They always won. They just had to stay soft long enough to see it. 1 week, 7 days, that's all it took for Mama to transform. Not completely. Cancer doesn't work that way, but enough. Enough to sit up without help, enough to eat full meals, enough to smile without pain shadowing every expression, enough to look like she might actually survive this. The doctors were amazed. The cancer is aggressive, Dr. Okonkwo told Ngozi in his office. We won't lie to you, but we caught it earlier than we thought. There's a real chance here, real hope. The surgery is scheduled next week. After that, chemotherapy. It's going to be a long fight, but your mother is strong, stronger than her body suggests. Ngozi sat in the doctor's office, an office that cost more per hour than she used to make in a month, and cried. Not from fear this time, from relief, from the overwhelming gratitude of knowing they had a chance, a real chance, that Mama might live, might see her grandchildren one day, if Ngozi ever married, might grow old, might have years instead of days. All because of 3 oranges, all because of staying soft, all because of keeping a promise. When Ngozi returned to Mama's room, she found something unexpected. Visitors. Not family, they'd come yesterday. Not neighbors, they'd come the day before. These wore suits. Professional, official. Mr. Adeyemi's team. Miss Ngozi, the lead man stood up. We've been waiting for you. Mr. Adeyemi sent us with some additional arrangements he'd like to make. More? Ngozi couldn't imagine what more there could possibly be. The medical care alone was more than enough. The 5 million naira was more than she'd ever dreamed. What more could there possibly be?
Mr. Adeyemi believes in investing in people, not just helping them once, the man explained. He set up a trust fund for you, education fund, business capital if you want to start something. He's also arranged a meeting with his foundation's career counselor. He wants to know what you want to do with your life, what your dreams are. Dreams. Ngozi had forgotten she was allowed to have those, had forgotten that life could be about more than survival, more than selling oranges, more than watching your mother die. He also wanted us to tell you something, the man continued. He said, "Tell Sister Ngozi that kindness is an investment. She invested in me with 3 oranges. Now I'm investing in her future, and I expect the same return she gave me, that she'll stay kind, that she'll help others, that she'll remember what it felt like to struggle, and use her blessing to bless others. Tell him that's the deal, that's the expectation, not a requirement, but a hope." Ngozi looked at Mama. Mama looked back, and they both understood. This wasn't just a blessing. It was a responsibility. It was a calling. It was the universe saying, "You proved you could stay kind when you had nothing. Now prove you can stay kind when you have everything." "Tell Mr. Adeyemi," she said slowly, "that I accept. Tell him I'll stay kind, I'll help others, I'll remember. Tell him," her voice broke, "tell him thank you for seeing me, for testing me, for giving me a chance to prove that Mama was right, that kindness mattered, that staying soft was strength. Tell him thank you for everything." The men nodded, professional, but their eyes were kind, like even they, who saw wealth and generosity every day, recognized something special here. They left, and Ngozi sat beside Mama's bed, held her hand, and they talked about the future, about dreams they'd both stopped dreaming, about possibilities they'd both stopped imagining, about a life that was suddenly wide open, full of potential, full of hope, all because of 3 oranges, all because of staying soft, all because of keeping a promise. If this story changed how you think about kindness, subscribe right now, because you need to see what happens next, and drop heart if you're crying happy tears like I am. 3 months changed everything. Mama's surgery was successful. The cancer was contained. Chemotherapy was hard, brutal actually, but Mama was fighting and winning, slowly, day by day, getting stronger, getting better, getting her life back. And Ngozi was in school, university, business administration, something she'd never imagined, never dared to dream. But Mr. Adeyemi's foundation had arranged everything. Tuition, books, housing, everything. "Your mind is too good to waste selling oranges," the career counselor told her. "You have intelligence, determination, character, and we're going to help you develop those gifts. And then you're going to use them to help others. That's the cycle. That's how this works." So Ngozi studied, learned, grew, not just in knowledge, but in confidence, in understanding her worth, in believing she deserved good things, that poverty wasn't her identity, that struggle wasn't her destiny, that she could be more than the soft girl who sold oranges on the highway. But she never forgot where she came from, never forgot the 3 days that changed everything, never forgot the promise she'd made to Mr. Adeyemi, to stay kind, to help others, to remember. So twice a week she volunteered, at a soup kitchen, feeding people who looked exactly like the stranger she'd fed on that highway, people who were hungry, desperate, in need. And every time she served food, every time she saw someone's face light up with gratitude for a simple meal, she understood. She understood why Mr. Adeyemi had done what he did. Because being blessed wasn't just about receiving, it was about becoming someone who could bless others, about taking what you received and multiplying it, about staying soft, not just when you had nothing, but especially when you had everything. That was the real test. Staying kind when kindness cost you was one thing. Staying kind when you didn't need to, when you had money and options and the luxury of being cruel, that was character. That was who you really were. 6 months after the surgery, Dr. Okonkwo called Ngozi into his office. She went with her heart in her throat. Medical meetings still scared her, still triggered memories of the days when doctors only had bad news, when every conversation ended with impossibly large numbers and the unspoken truth that Mama was dying. "Sit down, Miss Ngozi," Dr. Okonkwo said. His face was unreadable, professional, neutral. Ngozi sat, held her breath, prepared for the worst. The latest scans came back. Pause. Silence. Then he smiled. Actually smiled. "No sign of cancer. Your mother is in remission." The words didn't compute at first. Ngozi heard them but couldn't process them, couldn't believe this was real. "What?" "In remission," Dr. Okonkwo repeated. "The surgery got it all. The chemotherapy worked. Your mother's body responded better than we hoped. She still needs regular monitoring, still needs to take care of herself. But Ngozi, your mother beat cancer. She's going to live." Ngozi broke completely, right there in the doctor's office, sobbed like a child, like someone releasing 6 months of fear.
Together.
6 months.
6 months of not quite believing this could have a happy ending. "Thank you," she managed to say through tears. "Thank you, doctor. Thank you for saving her. Thank you for—" "Don't thank me," Dr. Okonkwo interrupted gently. "Thank yourself. You're the one who stayed kind when cruelty would have been easier. You're the one who fed a stranger when you couldn't feed yourself. You're the one who kept your promise when breaking it would have been understandable. You saved your mother, Miss Ngozi, not with medicine, with character. The medicine just finished what your kindness started." She told Mama that evening. In their new house, modest but comfortable, bought with part of the $5 million. Nothing extravagant, nothing that would make them forget where they came from. Just a simple house with 2 bedrooms and a kitchen and a living room, a place that was theirs, a place that was safe, a place where Mama could recover. "In remission," Ngozi said. "Mama, you beat it. You're going to live." Mama cried, Ngozi cried, and they held each other in their simple living room in their modest house and thanked God. Thanked Mr. Adeyemi, thanked the doctors, thanked the universe for keeping score, for making it all worth it, for proving that staying soft was strength, that kindness mattered, that promises were worth keeping. "You know what this means?" Mama said through tears. "What, Mama?" "It means I get to see you graduate, get to see you succeed, get to meet your children one day, get to grow old watching you become everything I prayed you'd be. It means we won, my daughter. We stayed soft, we stayed kind, and we won." If you believe in miracles, drop prayer hands. If you believe kindness is rewarded, drop red heart. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe, because the world needs to know that goodness still wins. 1 year to the day. Ngozi stood at the spot where it all happened, where she'd sat for 3 days selling oranges, where she'd fed a stranger, where 4 SUVs had stopped and changed her life forever. It looked the same, the highway, the dust, the traffic rushing past, but everything else was different. She was different. She wore a nice dress now, university student clothes, hair styled, confidence in her posture. She looked like someone with a future, someone with options, someone with hope. She'd brought something with her, a basket, with oranges, 23 of them, the same number she'd had 1 year ago. She sat down in her old spot, under an umbrella she'd bought just for the occasion, and waited. Cars passed, nobody stopped. She wasn't really trying to sell. This was something else. This was remembering. This was honoring. This was making sure she never forgot where she came from. After an hour, she saw him, a man, walking. Looked tired, dusty clothes, worn shoes. Maybe he was genuinely poor. Maybe he was rich, pretending to be poor, testing people, like Mr. Adeyemi had. She didn't know. Didn't matter. He approached. "Sister, please, do you have any water?" Ngozi handed him a bottle. "Do you also have something to eat? I'm very hungry." She picked up the biggest orange, held it out. "Here, it's free. You don't need to pay." The man stared at her. At the orange. At her. "But, sister, I have no money. I can't pay you." "I know.
I'm not asking you to pay. I'm just asking you to eat, to accept help, to let someone be kind to you." He took the orange slowly, like he couldn't believe this was real. "Why?" he asked. "Why are you doing this?" Ngozi thought about that question, thought about Mr. Adeyemi asking her the same thing a year ago, thought about all the answers she could give, and chose the simplest one. "Because someone was kind to me once, when I needed it most, when I was exactly where you are now. And that kindness saved my life. So now I pass it forward. I stay soft, I stay kind, I remember. That's all. That's everything." The man's eyes filled with tears. "What's your name, sister?" "Ngozi. It means blessing." "You are well named. Thank you, Sister Ngozi. I won't forget this." He walked away, eating the orange, and Ngozi watched him go, wondering, would he remember? Would he pass it forward? Would he stay kind? She didn't know, couldn't know, but that wasn't the point. The point wasn't controlling what happened next. The point was choosing who you were, choosing kindness, choosing softness, choosing to stay human in a world that constantly pushed you to become hard. That was victory. That was strength. That was enough. In the village, things had changed too. Subtly, slowly, but changed. Mama Tunde still ran her market stall, still sold her goods, still made her money, but something was different. She'd been watching, thinking, learning. A young girl came to her stall one day, poor, very poor, selling small oranges, like Ngozi used to. "Mama Tunde," the girl said nervously, "please, can you buy some oranges? I need to sell so I can buy food for my family." The old Mama Tunde would have laughed, would have said something cruel, would have sent the girl away with mockery and judgment. But the new Mama Tunde, the one who'd watched Ngozi's transformation, who'd seen kindness rewarded, who'd spent a year thinking about what she'd become, did something different. She bought 5 oranges, paid full price, then bought 5 more. "You're going to be okay," Mama Tunde said to the shocked girl. "Keep your kindness. Don't let this world make you hard. You hear me?" The girl nodded, confused but grateful, ran off with her money, and Mama Tunde stood there, feeling something she hadn't felt in 30 years. Good. She felt good. It wasn't much, 5 oranges, barely anything, but it was a start. A beginning, a first step back toward the person she used to be, before poverty taught her to be cruel, before life taught her to be hard, before she forgot that kindness mattered. She'd never be Ngozi, would never have that pure, soft heart, but maybe she could be better than she'd been. Maybe she could unlearn 30 years of hardness. Maybe she could remember what it felt like to help someone, one orange at a time. It was something. It was a start. It was hope. 2 years after the SUVs arrived, Ngozi stood in front of a classroom, not as a student this time, as a speaker, invited by Mr. Adeyemi's foundation to share her story, to inspire, to teach, to remind people that kindness mattered. The room was full, young people mostly, students, entrepreneurs, dreamers, all of them struggling in different ways, all of them facing the daily choice between softness and hardness, between kindness and cruelty, between staying true to themselves or becoming what the world demanded. My name is Ngozi, and 2 years ago I was selling oranges on a highway, watching my mother die and being called the biggest fool in my village. Today, I'm a university student. My mother is healthy, and I'm here to tell you the story of how 3 oranges changed everything. She told them about the 3 days, the stranger, the mockery, the doubt, the breaking point, the SUVs, the blessing, the transformation, everything. And as she spoke, she saw it, in their eyes, recognition, hope, understanding. They saw themselves in her story, saw their own struggles, saw their own choice, saw the daily decision they had to make, stay soft or become hard. I'm not special. I'm not better than anyone. I was just a poor girl who made a choice. 3 times I chose kindness when cruelty would have been easier. 3 times I chose to stay soft when hardness would have been practical. 3 times I chose to help when protecting myself would have been smart. And those 3 choices changed everything. Not because they earned me a reward, but because they proved something. They proved that my soul was more important than my survival, that my character was more important than my circumstances, that who I was mattered more than what I had. And when you prove that, when you really truly prove that kindness matters to you, the universe takes notice. God takes notice. People take notice. And somehow, impossibly, you get blessed. Not always with money, not always with SUVs and billionaires, but always with peace. Always with the knowledge that you stayed true to yourself, that you kept your promise, that you refused to become hard. And that peace, that certainty that you chose right, is worth more than any blessing, because it's a blessing you give yourself. She paused, looked at the young faces watching, hoping, struggling, deciding. So here's what I want to tell you. Stay soft, stay kind, stay true to who you are. The world will tell you you're foolish. People will mock you. Circumstances will pressure you to become hard, to protect yourself, to stop caring. Don't. Don't become hard. Don't stop caring. Don't let poverty or struggle or mockery steal your softness, because that softness is your strength. That kindness is your power. That refusal to become cruel is what makes you human. And in the end, when all the money is counted, and all the success is measured, and all the victories are tallied, the only thing that matters is this. Did you stay true to yourself? Did you keep your kindness? Did you stay soft when the world demanded hardness? If you can answer yes, then you won. Everything else is just details. The audience erupted in applause, and Gozi stood there watching young people decide, watching them choose, watching the ripple effect of her story spread. Because that's how it works. One act of kindness inspires another. One soft heart encourages another. One person staying true to themselves gives permission.
And slowly, impossibly, the world changes. One orange at a time. One choice at a time. One soft heart at a time. That was the legacy. That was the victory. That was what the 3 oranges had really bought. Not just Ngozi's blessing, but a reminder to everyone watching that kindness mattered, that softness was strength, that staying true to yourself was the bravest thing you could do, and that somewhere, somehow, the universe was keeping score, and goodness always, always won in the end. If this story changed you, if it reminded you to stay kind, subscribe so you never miss these stories. Drop a heart if you're going to choose kindness today, and share this with someone who needs to remember that being soft is strength, because that's how the ripple spreads. That's how the world changes, one share at a time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying soft. Thank you for being here. Based on the principle that kindness is never wasted, may we all have the courage to stay soft in a hard world. African Story Legacy.